Hello everyone, Manny Lord of Insanity here, and I saw Beauty and the Beast, and this is a review of Beauty and the Beast. Man, there's a lot of things to say about this movie. Okay, first off, there's the beginning, where they did line for line the original, but it wasn't as good as the original. Like, the shots just weren't as good as the plating. Like, they could have made it just as good with live action without the glass plating, where they were acting it out, but it just wasn't as good. Just there were things that were just bad in it. It was not really bad. It just wasn't as good. Okay, disclaimer. I'm not one of these people that just hates on the Disney live action things. I liked the live action Jungle Book. I liked the live action Pete's Dragon. I I've liked a few of their live action stuff, but this one was just, the beginning was, they could have changed some things. Like, the changes they made just made it worse. It just wasn't as good. It's kind of hard not to think of it as its own when it's doing line for line the original. Line for line. The whole intro. It just wasn't good at all. But then there was the first scene with Belle. And then the whole beginning after the glass plating. In their new one, it's not glass plating, but it's just not as good. Man, was this also bad. Once again, word for word, scene for scene, line for line, the original. Problem? It wasn't as good. So you're sitting there watching it, remembering the original, comparing it to the original because it's the exact same words, exact same lines, but it's not as good. And so you're sitting there not really liking the movie. And then, sure, judge it as its own. Don't look into the original. People say that about reboots. I've said that about reboots with Man of Steel, but what the difference is, Man of Steel was different from the other Supermans. This is the exact same thing. The exact same thing. No changes. Just, the life from the original was not there. Maybe there was some life, but it just didn't seem like it. And then, well, once again, the scene with Gaston, line for line, scene for scene, same thing, just not as good. Song, redundant, everything was just, I'm watching the same movie. It's just not as good. Why not go back to the cartoon? Then the first change came, and it's a nice change. It was welcoming. Well, semi. There were some weird things about it, but like the father, well, when you look at him, he's not really an inventor so much. He's more of a artist, a painter, a drawer, but it's that, whatever. But what's nice is they included they talked about the dead mother, and it was a nice little scene, and you cared about the father. The father was a nice change too. Just, yeah, it was a nice change. Even though he wasn't an inventor anymore, it was just a nice change. But then, the reason why he left, they probably should have kept him as an inventor. Yeah, he could draw things, but kept him as an inventor and kept him going to the fair, because the reason why he left was he took this small machine. Don't know why he was taking the machine to the market. Because here's the thing, it's not like he was going to sell the machine. Because why would he sell this? It's not like just a random thing. him, literally the machine is him in their house painting a picture of his wife. Why sell that? Maybe he's not selling it, maybe he's just taking it with him, but why? You just say he's going to the market. The original did okay with that, but still, him being a painter and a drawer, and a nice thing with the mother was a nice little changes. That was good and actually welcoming, because the previous things were the exact same, and it just was not good at all. And then, well, I guess if you've never seen Beauty and the Beast the cartoon, this would be okay. But then it got back to being the same movie as the cartoon. The same movie as the cartoon. No changes. Well, one change, though. Again, nice and makes sense. I mean, it was funny in the cartoon because he's like, no, this way is a shortcut. But in this way, tree fell, and then that was the only path left for him. So it was, I like both. But it was a nice change because it was different. The reason why he went to the castle was because lightning struck the tree, it fell, and then he had to go a certain way. That's yeah, that I know I skipped a whole bunch of the movie, but that part of the movie, you this is a review. Y'all are watching it because you've seen the original. That part of the movie, it's the original. Just take the life and the fun out of it. It's sad. And then there's the tree fell, the lightning struck it, and then he had to go down the path. And then instead of everything, being there to help him, I guess this is a change. It was nice, pretty fun, a little bit of funny, because it's different. He walks in, well, they say the exact same lines, the clock and the candlestick, they say the exact same lines, but a bit different afterwards, because instead of them going and talking to him and fixing everything and taking him to the chair, the guy thinks that the guy in the beast is the owner, but the guy thinks that the owner of the castle is being nice to him, so he goes on, he talks because he hears voices, he goes to the fire, warms himself up, and then there's food ready at the table. He goes, eats at the table, he's like, he's just, it's not a little change, it's pretty nice. And then the teacup Chip moos and scares the living daylights out of him, and he runs out the castle. It's pretty funny, and then he runs out, picks a rose, and then gets imprisoned for stealing, right? Now the horse gets scared and runs off. Like, it's not, this is actually different. It's a bit nice. Some of it kind of, it's a bit nice. It's actually different. Now and then we get back to the same exact scene, line for line, word for word, all the way until they get to the castle, and then just small little changes. This really wasn't. It was a little bit good, but not enough changes. It was the exact same thing again. But some of these changes this time were mostly bad. Like, okay, the good thing where she talked to her father, I promise I'll escape, and then pushed them out of the cage and shut the door. That was pretty good. But she got to say goodbye this time. It was, no, that was still pretty good. She actually got to say goodbye this time. It was a bad change came when she didn't get to watch her dad get dragged out. We didn't see how the dad got home, because apparently the horse was left this time as well. The horse was left last time, but we got to see why, because he was thrown into this carriage and the carriage took him back. We don't get to see why the horse was left this time. You just see him well, the castle's gone. And this time, instead of the Beast, you know, taking her to her room and they were the same exact lines except not given to the Beast. Same exact stuff except not given to the Beast. Those lines and those things were given to the candlestick and the clock. And it just wasn't as good because that's supposed. You're given not a good change. You wanted to make a change, make it the Beast, but give it a little bit of different lines. But then there was. It's just not good. Same exact stuff. Same exact movie. Scene for scene. Line for line. Except this time you're not exactly sure why the Beast is yelling for them to come eat with him. It's just not that as clear. I mean, and then that's just the entire movie basically. The same movie, some good changes, some not so good. Like, what's another? This review is going to be the same thing. So let me just skip. Let me get to stuff that was different from the cartoon that was either good or bad. I think the part where Beast's parents were semi-good, semi-bad. Like, some stuff whenever they were talking about Beast's mom and father were good, some of the stuff were bad. The scene with the magic book, there was this magic book scene. I think that was good and touching. Like, there really wasn't too much said. But, except for, picking up a pin. No, there are quite a few words said. This movie is so forgettable. Lines are forgettable in this movie. That's how bad it was. That's how lifeless it was. Lines were forgettable. There were quite a few lines in that scene, but it was still a pretty good scene. The good scene are the lines are forgettable. That's how sad. That's how sad this movie is. I like the ending. The ending's like the good part. The good part is the ending. Okay, another good change. The Enchantress. You see her again. Bad change was like the whole thing with Gustav and the father. It was kind of the way they did it was like worse in the movie than it was in the cartoon. But a good thing was you got to see the Enchantress again. The old hag, that's the Enchantress. That was pretty good. They didn't do too much with it, but that was pretty good. Should have done more stuff with that. The movie should have been longer with more stuff in it. Every single song was the same. There's only one different song that I remember. One song that was different that I remember. Everything else was the same exact thing. Alright, another change this movie had. Basically the same thing. Basically the same thing but worse. Basically, the movie's basically the same thing as some cartoon but worse. And if you don't want to judge it by the cartoon, they should not have made it the exact same thing as the cartoon. Okay, here's a really good change. Here's two good change. One, the candlestick and the feather duster, they have a little bit more lines together, more chemistry together, right? That's actually pretty good. I mean, think about it, in the cartoon, they didn't really have too much of anything together. Like, you just see them a couple times. But then in the movie, the live action, they had a lot more, and it was really good. And then the best change this movie had. The objects were slowly turning into real objects. Like, the people that were turning into objects, they were slowly turning into actual objects. Like, they weren't going to be alive anymore. That was good, and it got dark at the end. I mean, dark. that was probably the best change this movie had. The best change. This is why the ending was so great, because the ending literally had just a tiny bit of changes at the end, where the beast actually dies. The last petal is fallen. It's too late. The last petal fell. There was no reversing it anymore. The beast is dead. And then all the objects, you just saw them slowly turn into objects. Actual immovable objects. Like they were moving in life before? No, you just saw them become unmovable. You saw that it was dark and sad. And then it was good. It was actually good. Something good in this movie. And then the Enchantress comes. This is why you should have done more with the Enchantress when they had the chance. Because you see the old hag, you just see her as an old hag, and you slowly see her use her magic, and you realize, wow, that's the Enchantress. And then she does the flower, she sees that Belle loves her, she knows it's too late, but she has a kind heart anyways, knows that the beast learned his lesson, and all this other stuff, and she decides to just put the petals back in the flower. I mean, it's until the last petal falls, there's petals on a flower again, the magic can happen, and voila, everyone turns into people, and then the beast turns into a human. And once again, it went back to the same exact movie with only little changes. Oh, one good song. The good song that's different is whenever the beast is watching Belle Ride, and it was actually a good song because it was different. That's why it was good. It was different. Here's one thing that I was actually disappointed in. With how close this live action was to the cartoon, there was one scene that I was really, really wanting to see, that I was expecting. Because the beginning was scene for scene, line for line. I was like, wow, this is how the rest of the movie is? There's going to be one scene that I'm actually glad is scene for scene. It's going to be the exact same, because I love that scene. The clock, wearing the Napoleon hat, sliding down the stairs, and then stabbing someone to save the candlestick guy. Didn't happen. If you've seen the cartoon and you really like the cartoon, don't watch this movie. If you haven't seen the cartoon, you can watch the movie. It'll be okay to you. Most people who don't really watch the cartoon or haven't seen the cartoon like it. I know someone who's seen the cartoon lots of times and likes it, but she likes it just because it's Disney. She's that kind of person. This is actually a lot shorter than I thought it would be.